I'm out.
Oops.
Come, come all of you, come all of us, and bless the one who blesses. Come, come all of you, come all of us, and bless the one who blesses. Blessed is the blessed one. Blessed is the giver of blessing. Blessed in this moment now and every now to come. Blessed is the blessed one. Blessed is the giver of blessing. Blessed in this moment now and every now to come. Come all of you, come all of you, and bless the one who blesses. Come, come all of you, come all of you, and bless the one who blesses.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shalom.
Welcome to virtual Temple B'nai Or. Of course, we're away from each other, but let's bring each other together. Wish each other a Shabbat Shalom, the people you're around, the people who are out on the internet, the people who will pray with us later in the recording. It's a dark day today, a dark day because of the tropical storm, but let's bring light to each other, bring light to our homes, our mikdash ma'at, our small sanctuaries, as we light our Shabbat candles.
Oh, hear our prayer, we sing to you. Be gracious to the ones we love, and bless them with goodness and mercy and peace. Oh, hear our prayer to you. Let us light His lights and see the way to you. And let us say amen. Let us light these lights and see the way to you. And let us say Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu להדליק של שבת. We continue singing Zmirot from Shabbat on page 24 if you have the prayer book. Shalom Aleichem. We welcome the angels of Shabbat as we welcome one another into the calm and the beauty of Shabbat and the light of Shabbat. Page 24. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hashabbat, Malachei Elyon. Yehi melech malachei hamlachim hakadosh baruch Bochem leshalom malachei hashalom malachei elyon Melech malachei hamlachim hakadosh baruch I hope you're seeing Malachuni leshalom, malachei hashalom, malachei elyon. Malachei hamlachim hakadosh baruch Zetchem leshalom, malachei hashalom, malachei elyon. Malachei hamlachim hakadosh baruch. Every Shabbat we welcome this sacred time together with psalms. The Psalms of Shabbat, Psalm 98, Zamru l'Adonai b'chino. We like to incite singing, so let's try to sing together, even though we can't necessarily hear each other. Every Shabbat I use my imagination to hear all of you, to bring all of us together in this virtual community. Zamru l'Adonai b'chino. Bechino bechol zimra Zamru l'Adonai bechino Bechino bechol zimra Zamru l'Adonai bechino bechol zimra Zamru l'Adonai bechino bechino bechol zimra
We come to Lachado, the great love song to Shabbat. At the beginning, our cantor spoke saying Min HaMetzar, from the narrow places. And in Lachadodi, in one of the last verses, it says, Yamin Usmol Tifrotzi, your space will be broad. We for weeks and weeks and weeks, we feel this tightening of space. And now it's a summer and maybe we might be outside and we feel that we're open again. But at the same time, we see that the numbers of people infected are going up. And do we have to tighten our space again? So how can we be open and broad in our hearts, but in our tightened physical spaces? I think that's what it's talking about here, because this, when Jews have sung this over millennia, over hundreds of years, they're singing out with joy, even though it might have been difficult circumstances. So it's really, I think, about an opening up of your heart. Your space in your heart will be broad. So let's all sing out. You, all of you in front of your screens, sing out with joy.
Thank you so much for that beautiful kavanah, Rabbi. And we're going to go nuts. We're going to sing that verse, which the Reform movement actually never sang. So instead of singing the regular verses that we always sing, let's go crazy tonight and sing verses 1, 8, and 9. And as always, we will arise for verse 9. Please sing. Lecha dodi v'hikrat kahana pnei Shabbat nekavela. Lecha dodi v'hikrat kahana pnei Shabbat nekavela. Shamor v'zachor v'dibur echad yishmianu el hamiuchad Adonai echad הוא שמו אחד לשם ולתפארת ולתהילה אחד הודי להיקראת קהלה פני שבת נקבלה אחד הודי להיקראת קהלה פני שבת נקבלה ימינו שמאל תתרוצי בית אדוני תריצי על ידי בין פרתי ומשמחה בין הגילה חדודי להיקראת קהלה פני שבת נקבלה לחדודי להיקראת קהלה פני שבת נקבלה אוי בשלום עטרת בעלה גם בשמחה ובצולתו אמוני עם סגולה בואי חלה לחדודי להיקראת קהלה פני שבת נקבלה לחדודי להיקראת קהלה פני שבת נקבלה. We stay risen, we stay up if we can for Baruch Hu on page 28 if you have the prayer book, and we invite all of us to stand up and to pray with our call to worship. Baruch Hu et Adonai
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Le'olam. Come all of you, come all of us, and bless the one who blesses God. Come all of you, come all of us, and bless the one who blesses us.
On page 30, Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech HaOlam, Asher bidvaro ma'ariv arabim, B'chma potech sha'arim, U'bitvona mishanei itim, Ma'chalif et hazmanim, U'sader et ha'kochavim, Mishmerotehem barakia kirtzono, Borei yom balayla, U'le'or mipnei choshech v'choshech mipnei or, Ma'avir yom u'mevi layla, Mabdil ben yom u'ben layla Adonai Tzvaot.
ומבדיל בין יום ובין לילה אדוני צבאות שמו אחד וקיים תמיד ימלוך עלינו לעולם הבא. ברוך אתה אדוני המעריב
את ישראל תודה ומצוות ובשעתי אותנו לימדת אותנו לימדת על כן אדוני אלוהינו בשוכבנו ובקומנו נשיח בחוקיך ונשמח בדברי תורתך ובמצוותיך לעולם חיינו לאורך ימינו ובהם נגה יומם ולילה נגה יומם ולילה ואהבתך אל תפסיק ממנו לעולם ברוך אתה אדוני אוהב עמו ישראל אוהב עמו ישראל ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך וקשרתם לאות על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם אלוהים אני אדוני אלוהיכם אמת.
This Shabbat starts what's called in Aramaic the Talat de Paramuta, the three haftorot of rebuke. The haftorot that come from the book of Jeremiah. It tells the people, it describes a destruction that will come, and it leads you 3 weeks up to Tisha B'Av, the saddest day on the Jewish calendar, the day that commemorates the destruction of the temple in Jerusalem. We have this sad day on the calendar, but it's punctuated all the time. Our Jewish calendar is always punctuated by joy and sadness, more joy than sadness, hopefully. And so this time where we are in the summer, where we're feeling down in the Jewish calendar, we know, though, that redemption is coming, because once we come to Tisha B'Av, we start counting up to the high holy days, the days where Jews from all corners of the universe come together. Now, we won't be physically together, but it will be a great mechaya, as they say in Yiddish, a great feeling of life, of joy. So we sit in the sadness on Tisha B'Av that's coming in a few weeks, but we have this vision of joy that comes after that. So I want to read this reading on page 39 that has this vision of pain and vision of redemption together in a world torn by violence and pain, a world far from wholeness and peace. Give us the courage to say, Adonai, there is one God in heaven and earth. The high heavens declare your glory. May earth reveal your justice and love. From bondage in Egypt, we were delivered. At Sinai, we bound ourselves to your way. Inspired by prophets and instructed by sages, time and again, we overcame oppressive forces. Though our failings are many and our faults are great, it has been our glory to bear witness to our God, keeping alive in dark ages your vision of a world redeemed. Let us continue to work for the day when the nations will be one and at peace. Then shall we rejoice as Israel did, singing on the shores of the sea.
Before we continue with Hashkivenu on page 43 and 42, I want to say thank you to the Rabbi for bringing our attention and our awareness to this place of communal Jewish sadness, which we don't necessarily commemorate or think of or are aware of normally, but I feel like this year of all the years, we really will have to go through a journey together in order to get to the high holidays. And sometimes sitting in this place of discomfort, this place of grief, this being sad is uncomfortable. But Judaism gives us this wonderful place to mourn our historical, our communal loss together and our personal losses of this time. So we continue on page 43 and 42, asking God to protect us and to cover us and to embrace us in the shelter of peace. And while we can't hug one another, we can at least spiritually give each other hugs and love and send each other all these blessings for protection. We sing together. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storm. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storm. Ashkivenu, Adonai Eloheinu. Ashkivenu, Leshalom, for wholeness. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storm. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. והעמידנו, שמרנו לחיים, ופרוס עלינו סוכת שלומך. משכיבנו, אדוני אלוהינו, השכיבנו לשלום. Sing with me. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Continue with the commandment, the reminder to keep Shabbat, to take that time, to take it all. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורות ברית עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורות ברית עולם. ביני ובני ישראל אותי לעולם, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורות ברית עולם. וביום שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש, וינפש, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורות ברית עולם. We begin our Amidah together. We are reminded to rise up if we're able, to stand up and to stand tall and to embody the prayer in our bodies. And we begin together asking God to open up our lips and continue privately praying with all the prayers of the Amidah or the prayers of our hearts that feel and resonate with us tonight. Adonai, Sefatai Tifta, Ufiadi Tehilatecha, Adonai, open my lips, and my mouth may declare your praise. Oh, Adonai, open my lips, and my mouth may declare your praise. At this time, our thoughts turn to those of us who are in need of healing in these days. We are all in need of healing. We think and we name tonight in our community Joyce Becker, Larry Benson, Margot Blaustein, Lee Broadwin, Harriet Broadwin, Kiera Burjo, Tyler Cavill, Aladonia Sarald, Mitchell Colbert, Eli Nadoon, Claudia DiGizu, Nicholas DiGizu, Sally Friedman, Elaine Holenko, Oliver David Horn, Lydia Hitchko, Sammy Iverson, Michael Kaplan, Sheila Carner, Gay Clapman, Matthew Croyne, Joseph Lupkin, Tony Mazzarella, Dr. John Moorcraft, Michael Morrissey, Dr. James Pruden, Judy Pagona, David Rifkin, Gobsy Rifkin, Eileen Reinfleisch, Karen Russo, Yona Rosen, Don Rubin, Jeff Schwartz, Deb Sabiri, John Sabiri, Rochelle Simon, Michael Sorkin, Anita Swetinsky, Glenn Swetinsky, Marjorie Van Dow, Lisa Wolper, Jennifer Jen Concerto, and Lavonda Rothman. If there's anybody whose name I haven't mentioned, who is in need of healing, please say their name, write their names in the chat box. Say it to each other, send prayers and blessings into the universe so all of our community will heal quickly. And I'm going to chant a new El Narefana La, God please heal her, verse from Nava Tehillah in Israel. Very simple, sing.
Yes, I came back into the sanctuary when my son left. So I might be the only American who had never seen Hamilton until this week. And I loved it. It was really great. And I was reading things, some people complaining, well, it's not totally historical, but it's not about if it's totally historical. It's about a myth, a founding myth of America. And in fact, it's giving a different myth, a myth centered on New York, a myth centered on an immigrant, a myth that's different than the one we usually talk about in America's founding. But I'm saying this word myth. And usually today, when we say the word myth, it means the opposite of truth. But that's not, or the opposite of a fact, but that's not what I mean by myth. Myth is a story that grounds our life in meaning. A myth can be true even if it is not factual. We have our American myths. Sometimes they can become a broken myth. Then the myth is not factual and not true. So not only have I been thinking a lot about Hamilton, I've also, like many people in America, been thinking a lot about statues. Statues. Many statues in America are there to tell a myth. And some of these myths that the statues tell was very meaningful to some Americans, but meant to be oppressive to other Americans. And because those Americans that were being oppressed didn't actually have a voice in the construction of the statues, nobody thought about that. The lost cause of the Confederacy was a myth that gave meaning to some people, but it was also a myth that was used to oppress people on purpose. And I would say today, America is waking up to this broken myth and seeing that not just is it not factual, but it is untrue. And so many people in America are doing a very Jewish thing in tearing down statues like Avraham Avinu, our father Abraham. Much of the Bible talks about tearing down statues, idolatry. But idolatry is not just statues. It's statues that represent falsehood. It's not art that the Torah, that the Bible talks about tearing down. It's falsehood that the Torah, that much of the Bible, our prophets talk about tearing down. Falsehood. That's what the statue represents. Falsehood, oppression, turning us away from what God wants, turning us away from love and justice. As I said earlier, this Shabbat, we start to count up to Tisha B'Av, count up to this sad day. We start to read these haftorot, these readings from Jeremiah. Jeremiah, often called the prophet of gloom and doom. There's a word, I've never actually heard it pronounced, but I know the word. So if I pronounce it wrong, please tell me. A Jeremiad is a long speech of doom and gloom. But Jeremiah has some hope too. Jeremiah was the prophet, Yirmiyahu in Hebrew, the prophet who witnessed the destruction of the monarchy, and the destruction of Jerusalem and the destruction of the temple, and he went away into exile with the people. And in the first chapter that we read on this Shabbat, God sends Jeremiah to, quote, uproot, to pull down, to destroy, to root out. What's he sent to do? To uproot, pull down, destroy, root out the idolatry of the people. It's not just the statues. It's the false beliefs. It's the teaching of falsehood. It's the oppression that goes along with that. To uproot, to pull down, to destroy, to root out. He was not successful. Our rabbis say it was idolatry that brought down the first temple. But God says right after, to uproot, to pull down, to destroy, to root out, but also to build and to plant. Rabbi Bradley Shavet Artson writes about this: because there are times when the most constructive act is to uproot and to smash. In the face of stubborn evil and barbarous hate, resistance is the path towards righteousness. But resistance cannot be the only tool in the box. At some time, the containment of evil must give way to the establishment of goodness, compassion, and justice. There is a time to build and a time to plant. We are all called to discern in both instances. When is resistance and combat the necessary response to the venality of a place or time? And when is coalition building and transformation the call of the age? Jeremiah is here to chew us out for the narcissism, greed, and lack of vision that brought us to this precipice. But he is also the prophetic leader to shake us out of our sloth, stand us on our feet, and to get us to work again for that age-old goal of redemption. God tells Jeremiah in the Haftarah, I am making you this day a fortified city, an iron pillar, and like bronze walls against the whole land. That God is building up, stealing up Jeremiah to take the hate from the people because they don't want to hear his message. We need to steel ourselves to do these hard things, but at the same time, we can't be a fortified city, an iron pillar against the hearing of the cries of the oppressed, hearing of the cries of people telling us we need to break these broken myths, tear down these idols. We need to open ourselves to hear their cries, and we need to join in coalition with them to do that. And then, together, we build up. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom and Yasher Koach to that.
And so, before we begin to conclude our service, please join us in our online oneg. And let's turn together to page 282 for Aleinu. Please rise if you are able.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשינו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. May we gain wisdom in our lives, overflowing like a river with understanding. Loved, each of us, for the peace we bring to others. May our deeds exceed our speech, and may we never lift up our hand but to conquer fear and doubt and despair. Rise up like the sun, O God, over all humanity, cause light to go forth over all the lands between the seas, and light up the universe with the joy of wholeness, of freedom, and of peace. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד.
Think of our loved ones whom death has recently taken from us, those who died at this season in years past, those whom we have drawn into our hearts with our own. We think of the recent death of Marilyn Tenenbaum. We're in the period of Shloshim for Sandra Saltzman, Evelyn Herbst, and Herman Benson. This week marks the yahrzeit, the anniversary of the death of Hyman Botkin, Abner Cohen, Leah Cylinder, Erwin Delson, Dottie Dicker, Sheila Joan Fine, Jacob Fish, Esther Meister Flieger, Aaron Foreman, James Gingold, Joseph Glick, Myron Goldberg, Miriam Gordon, Doris Stern Henryson, Cheryl Iskovitz, Alexander Kogan, Herman P. Lieberman, Bernard Marin, Ralph Paris, Harvey Phillips, Sidney Rotz, Beulah Mickey Rouse, Sidney M. Schwartz, Rose Siderer, Scott Spiegel, Judy Steinberg, Claire Thompson, Michael Peter Weinberg, Mayor Wexler, Hannah Whitland, Yosef Yisachar, and Jewel Zucker. If you're saying Kaddish for someone, their name was not mentioned, please say their name out loud. Please put their names in the comments. Zichanam livracha. May their memories be for a blessing. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah. V'yamad divrach chirutei, yamlich malchutei, v'chayachon v'yomachon, v'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael, ba'agala u'vizman kariv v'imru amen. Yehi shmei rabbah mevarach, ve'olam olamei omaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yithadar v'yit'aleh v'yithalal, shemei d'kudesha brichu. Elam in kober chata v'shirata, tushbachata v'nechemata, damiran be'ama v'imru, amen. Yehe shlama rabba min shamaya, v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru, amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru, amen. May the one who creates harmony on high bring peace to us, to all Israel, to which we say, amen.
עלינו ועל כל ישראל
Baruch Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen.
Amen.
Baruch Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher קידשנו לצפותיו ורצה בנו, ושבת קודשו באהבתו הנחילנו, זיכרון למעשה בראשית. יום תחילה ויקרא קודש, זכר ליציאת מצרים. כי באנו בחרת נתנו בינה מכל בשבת קודשך באהבה ורצון התחלתנו. ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת.
Amen.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, המוציא לחם מן הארץ שבת שלום.
Amen. Shabbat shalom l'chaim.